in a studio somewhere far, far away. Picture this. Picture this.
It's time for the Mary Whitehouse Experience.
Next week, most people will suffer the annual humiliation that is St. Valentine's Day. Now, here is a standard Valentine, but the author has made one classic mistake. See if you can spot it.
Dear Helen, I love you. Yours sincerely, Rob Newman, flat 19, 19 Polycat Lane, London, W87PJ. Daytime tell, 589-2902. Your ref.
Now, tradition demands that the Valentine sender should remain anonymous, or almost anonymous. Your identity should be tantalisingly shrouded in mystery.
Dear Helen, I love you. Yours sincerely, Nob Ruman. Flat 19, 19 Polycat Lane, London, W87PJ.
Yes. Although, on the other hand, you shouldn't get too cryptic.
Dear Helen, I love you. Yours sincerely, Flange of baboons in mining country, perhaps, 3-6.
One way of smoothly suggesting that it was you is to casually drop in one of the lines that was written on the Valentine card when you next meet on some veranda 3 months later. Although one has to be careful about which line.
You know, Helen, this summer night may be many things, but it isn't sold in aid of the Notting Hill Housing Trust. Or why?
Still, it could have been worse.
You know, Helen, this summer night may be many things, but it isn't Rob Newman, flat 19.
It is also imperative to post your Valentine card from a different postal area than your own.
I'm standing here in Baghdad, but there aren't any bloody post boxes left.
One of the worst aspects of Valentine's Day are the messages that crop up in the tabloids and local press.
Poodles, you're my dimply pimply squiddly idly, Mr. Toasty.
Rolo, huge hugs and smackaroonies, your fun bundle, JJ.
Mark, piss off.
If you look at the top 10 best-selling books in Britain, the chances are that most of them are diet books. There's The Hip and Thigh Diet, Trim That Waist, Kiss Your Ass Goodbye, and the latest bestseller, How to Get £3.99 out of a Gullible Gut Bucket.
The culture of vanity has reached its apex in the United States. Americans spend a fortune on facelifts to look younger, and if you're rich enough, you can qualify for your free bus pass and still find it hard to get served in a bar. Often in cosmetic surgery, they have to graft skin from other parts of the body, so the average middle-aged American in the shower looks like a slice of Battenberg cake.
Mind you, people are still unwilling to admit to it. Michael Jackson still denies he's had plastic surgery, despite the fact that if you compare these two photos, you do tend to notice that he started off looking like a black American and now looks like a Jerry Anderson puppet that's been left too near a radiator.
We come now to grey hair. Most men are so vain that when they find a grey hair, they pull it out, sometimes with appalling consequences. Now, even worse is baldness, but there is a solution to baldness, and the solution is, at some time when you're in your teens or 20s, have all your own hair cut off and have it made into a wig. At that age, it'll grow back. Then, when you hit 50 and go bald, you just put it on and you can truthfully say, it's my own hair.
The only snag with this is that your hairstyle will be stuck permanently where it was when you cut your hair off. So people going bald now will probably have had their hair cut off sometime in the early 70s. course, one major problem with baldness is that it is hereditary. So one fears for Suzanne Charlton.
Now, Crime Stoppers is looking for a dangerous criminal wanted in connection with a series of very violent crimes. The man in his late 20s has a moustache and very long hair. He also wears glasses and a black bomber jacket-style bomber jacket. He is known in the underworld as No Trousers Jackson. He is not a master of disguise. Keep out of his way, as he is known to carry a gun, which...
If you have any information about this crime, you could win a community action trust.
Often, when I'm talking to someone I don't know, I mean to say one thing, and what actually comes out is something else altogether. Like when I met Bob Champion, I wasn't sure whether to call him Mr. Champion or just plain Bob, got a bit nervous, a bit flustered, and ended up calling him Mr. Cancer. Conversation with someone you don't know very well is very difficult, particularly ending one.
Well, of course, it's built for the car, isn't it? You know, we only have a single garage, unfortunately, but there are houses in Hitchin with double garages. Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, many times we've thought of extending, but in fact we decided to have some stone instead. You know, all local stone looks marvellous, you know, reds and greys and greens, but you want to try and keep up the character of Hitchin, don't you? Yeah. Well, of course, it used to be a very historic town, you know. It used to be a... Hitchinus, I think it was called in those days, and we still have a legacy from some of those periods. Marvellous market on Wednesday afternoon. You can get quite a few pence off supermarkets.
Another problem is that in these conversations, you become hyper-aware of your facial expression while you're listening. And this becomes particularly difficult as you have to keep changing expression to maintain the pretense of interest.
Well, it was a wife's sister, actually. She said, why not move from Hitchin? You know, it's not what it was. I said, move from Hitchin? Oh, the very thought of it. I just couldn't envisage that happening, really. No, anywhere else feels like abroad to me. We did once take a caravan holiday down to Hatfield. I don't know quite where you are in that particular part. It's a terrible business, really. I lost a wheel in North Midlands. I feel so good.
Interestingly, it's a historical fact that despite everything else, the Elephant Man, John Merrick, had a set of perfectly formed genitals. Unfortunately, they were on his head.
Then, there are those people who insist on saying what they think others are about to say before they've said it.
Hello, Timmy. How's things?
Fine, thanks, Johnny. This is a lovely bit of lettuce. Yum, yum, yum.
I think the reason that people do this is because they have a neurotic fear of what might otherwise be said.
Hello, Timmy. How's things?
Fine, thanks. You're a bit sad now that all you do is voiceovers for Winalot adverts.
Of course, you do meet real people like this at parties.
Hello. What do you do for a living?
I'm an accountant, Johnny.
Oh, an accountant, eh? That is interesting. And what do you do at the weekend?
I put my knob in some butter.
Really?
Would you like to sleep with my wife, Johnny?
Oh, yes, thanks. Hang on. Were you just about to call me a slag?
You slag!
Right, that's it.
The most important thing about exams is to find out when they are, as this enables you to work out which of your friends have exams that finish after yours do, so you can invite them to parties that they can't go to because they're still revising.
Beware, however, that some of them may still turn up and revise at the party. There is no worse party pooper than the bloke who turns up and tries to get everyone to dance to his linguaphone conversational German tape.
Hören Sie zu und dann wiederholen Sie. Ich gehe nach dem Fenster.
Was ist
Du
das?
gehst nach
Es hat
dem
ein
Fenster.
good beat.
Do not be swayed by the great myths about exams. Everyone has heard the apocryphal stories.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. It was absolutely incredible, because he went in, right, and the question was, is this a question? Yeah, right? And he wrote, if this is an answer. And you know, the incredible thing is that he failed completely.
Well, that's incredible, yeah, because I had this friend, right, who took a 3.5-hour paper, and all he did was he went in and he just wrote his name at the top of the paper and he walked out.
Oh, God.
And the incredible thing was that he got the highest mark ever recorded at Sandhurst.
Now, in an exam situation, it is essential that you plan your time. If you do this properly, a 3-hour paper should go like this.
9 a.m, into exam room, turn over paper. Realise you are in the wrong room.
9:05, arrive in correct room. Complete silence.
9:06, you realise you've got to spend the next 3 hours next to the person with chronic bronchitis.
I'm so sorry.
9:07, turn over paper and read through instructions.
Answer at least one question from sections A and C, and either 2 questions from section B, or 1 question from section D, and 3 questions from part 2 of section B. Do not answer 2 questions from part 1 of section A if you have also answered any 1 or more questions of sections 5 to 12 in section D. Sections Q and P are optional for candidates who have answered questions 4 to 7, but not if you have only answered 1 part of questions J to K or part 14 of section 2.
Stop writing now, please.
9:30, give up trying to understand instructions, decide on first question to answer.
9:35, look around room and panic that everyone else has written more than you.
9:40, start planning first essay.
9:41, start writing first essay.
9:45, someone farts and everybody starts giggling.
10 o'clock, 200 digital watches make horrid beeping noises.
10:05, the hardest person in the class walks out early.
10:06, the hardest person in the class is pushed back in again by his mum.
Twisting the question. This involves turning a question on something you haven't revised into something you have revised. For example, with the question, write a character study of Hamlet which shows his indecision, examiners are used to receiving answers like this.
In order to fully explore the character and indecision of Hamlet, it is first necessary to consider that had Hamlet been Scottish, his situation would have been very similar to that of Macbeth.
Sheer genius. Of course, once your exams are over, there are only 2 things left to do. The first is to go around saying to all your friends,
oh, God, I've just done really badly, but, you know, I didn't do any work.
And the next thing is to go through the paper with your friends, only to discover,
oh, God, I have done really badly. Oh, I did loads of work as well. The best era for film was the silent one. They should never have stopped making films in that way. Most porn films are made in German or Dutch in 1973 and are then dubbed by very bad non-equity members going, hey, you're a tasty chick, or say, this is an office lunch break with a difference. However, if their budgets were half the size of Big Johnny Holmes, God rest his soul, then they could afford big stars for the dubbing.
Say, Miss